Hi guys, and welcome to Revival Fire Online. I'm Apostle Marsha Pedro saying welcome, welcome. It is the 6th day of the last month of 2024. Where are you today? What are you doing? Lola Alexander, good evening. Jimisry Wright, good evening. Esther, good evening. Come on, if you're in, let's just let me know that you're here today. The year has gone by so quickly. Where did it go? And I think even this month is going by so quickly. If you're on Facebook, why don't you go ahead and like and share this? Hi, Lois. Hi, Rihanna. If you are on YouTube, you can go ahead and press that notification button and go ahead and subscribe to our channel because we upload new content every single week, and we want you to hear what God is saying. Hi, Sheldon Mitchell. Hi, Pascal Walcott. How are you all doing this evening? I know many people are doing several things this evening because it's the end of the year and it's a time when things just tend to get busy, whether it's the children's class parties or the corporate events or whatever it is, you get busy. But you can go ahead and like and share, and maybe someone will see and they will come on the replay. This evening I'm specifically speaking about regret. Before the year comes to an end, there are some things that God wants to address in us, in our personalities, in our communities, in our outlook, in our habits, in our perception. Are you one of those people who realize coming to the end of this year, even in this month, like myself, are you one of these people who realize suddenly things are coming up in your personality, in your soul, in your mind, in your belief system, and you're realizing, wow, I didn't realize I saw this thing this way. I didn't realize I believed in this thing, and maybe God wanted me to see something differently. And I really believed as we move on for the other 20 how much days in in December, God is going to accelerate a purging process in our lives. I don't know how many of you are feeling this purging process in your life, but certainly I am. And I believe He's accelerating the purging so that as we hit 2025, we're going to hit the ground running. And one of the things that has come up with me is regret. And there are other things that will come up, your belief system, your values. Maybe you've seen things a certain way, you've expected things a certain way, and it is just not like that. And God just wants to weed these things out of us as we get into a new season. For some of us, God wants to pluck them out. Hi, Renetta. Hi, Suzette. Some things God just needs to pluck it out. I know there are some things in my perception, my expectation, God wants to pluck out right now, and He really is plucking it out. So I want to encourage you guys, continue staying logged on and continue yielding to God's process. In the midst of festivity, the devil still brings adversity. And we cannot be numbed by the lights and the good food and the good music. We cannot be numbed by it, but we are people of progress. And after December 25th comes 2025. How are we going to move forward? Yeah. So I'm continuing the series of messages that will position us to finish strong and in a privileged position to take territory. I am all about taking territory in every year of my life, but I really think 2025 is a year when the Church of Jesus Christ, and I know myself, I can sense my voice being amplified even now, being prepared for that amplification in 2025. And in these messages from now until the end of the year, we'll continue to share prophetic insight into what God is saying for the next year. And as I said already, and I've been saying, some of you have already stepped into a new season and you're experiencing a shift. Hi, Khadijah. Hi, Nalini and Anisha. Some of you are experiencing a shift, yet some are of you are yet to conquer the old and transition. And tonight's message, regret, is about conquering the old. You know, one of the key things that holds us back and locks us into a cycle is regret. And as I sat, I believe it was, when was it? Yesterday afternoon, as I sat in the mall, I was just outside, and a certain physical ailment was popping up again inside of me. And I started to think of the physical ailment, that thing, the old way I used to think about it. Some of us, things are popping up, and God has reversed our mindsets. He's reversed our thinking. He's reversed our processing. But again, some of these old things are coming up, and he's just reminding us that these things are reversed. I started to get impatient, and that's a word we've gone through with me for 2020, from 2023, yeah, from 2023 to 2024. Patience. And I started to become impatient and say, God, when will I get physically healed? When would and then God reminded me of the patience process I would have lived through this year, because I started to feel regret that I went into the AC, regret that I went on a trip, regret. And God said to me, listen, you are not, when adversity comes in the season, you are not to apply regret. You are not to go back, because when you go back, you take a few steps back. What happens when adversity comes? You remember the thing that God had reversed. So God has reversed my thinking. God has reversed my impatience. And I strongly believe that for many of us in 2024, God has reversed many things in our lives. God has switched and changed our mindset with respect to finances. God has switched and changed our mindset with respect to healing. And God says, when the adversity comes for the rest of this month, we're on the 6th, so we have 20 something days again. Yeah, I think I'm doing the math good. We have 20 something days, 25 days. Yeah, we have 25 more days. We have 25 more days in this year. And as we live out the next 25 days, as adversity comes, remember, God has already reversed that thing. So don't go back to the old way of thinking. One of the key things that hold, as I said, that holds us back and locks us into a cycle is regret. I've seen people move in relationships, they just move on. I've seen people buy new cars. I've seen people change jobs. I even see them go live in a new country just to avoid. Yet regret is something that continues to live with them like part of their extended family or an additional body part. I should have done this. I would have done this. I could have done this. Regret is a very discreet yet destructive tool the enemy has used to stall individuals. And understand, today, at the 6th day of the 12th month, the last month, regret is something that can keep you stalled in a place of solemnness. And I was actually reading something about isolation, about how the enemy wants us to be isolated, but God wants us in community. And regret is something that does that. The minute you get a whiff of a relationship that seems askew, the minute you get a whiff of the fact that, hey, this person is probably not paying attention to my message, or this person is not, whatever your perception may be, you get to a place of regret, and it's a tool that has stalled individuals. Regret has programmed some of our thought patterns so much so that nothing new is allowed to thrive and prosper in our lives. It's programmed our thought patterns so much that there is nothing new that's going to thrive. There's nothing new that's going to prosper. So I want to encourage you, as regret is one of those things that God is plucking out in this season. And don't get there. Don't get stalled in that cycle. Don't get stalled in that place. Regret, you know what I see regret as, Josie? I see regret as, I'm speaking to you guys as if you're right here with me, right? Because I'm right here, and I'm right there in your living room. I see regret as, Josie, one of those marsh places, that we drive into, and we're having a good time, and then we realize we need to leave. And one of those cars that gets stuck, and the car is trying to go go go, and you're pressing the accelerator and it's switching the gears and you're doing whatever, and the wheel just keeps turning, but it's stuck in that place. That's how I see regret, as that thing that just keeps you stuck. And as the wheel keeps going on in the cycle, so does regret just keep going on and on and on in your mind. And you never move forward. You never change position. And you know what? The world around, chronology is going around, destiny is going around, Kairos and Chronos, they're just happening. But we're just in that place where our wheels are stuck. We have moments when God's breakthrough is evident and a seed is planted. However, the plant never grows to a promise because the poison of regret kills its purity. How many seeds have been planted in your life in 2024? There have been so many seeds planted in my life in 2024. As we would have walked through, one of my greatest challenges were the physical ones I had from 2023 to 2024. And yet this was another physical challenge that I started, but that I had for a couple of weeks, but I started experiencing some intense challenges, some intense symptoms yesterday. And I went back. My first reaction was to go back to that place of regret. And I just had to pull those wheels out of that place. You see, the plant never grows to a promise until the poison of regret comes out. So God planted a seed of healing in me. God planted a seed of something. Come on, let's reminisce. Let's hear the seeds. Let's hear what God did for you, Anne. What did God do for you this year in 2024? There are seeds that God has planted, and the enemy wants to steal them. Let's publicly declare. Let me hear some of your seeds. I know God planted seeds of healing in me. God planted great seeds of faith. God showed me different facets of my voice that He's going to bring forth. God showed me. Come on, what are some of the things? Let me hear what seeds did God plant? What did God do for you? What thing stood out and sprung forth in 2024? Let's declare it publicly. I know for some of you, fatherhood is something that stood strong for 2024. I know for some of you, your ability to get a job, and you got some financial breakthrough in 24. Some financial earnings came forth in 2024. What are some of the things? Let's see them in the comments. Some of the things, some of the seeds that God planted. You see, we need to see the seeds that God planted. Yes, Josie, God planted a seed of hope in you. We need to see some of the seeds that God has planted in 2024 to remind us that He's still here and to prepare us for greater in 2025. Because if we can't remember what happened in 2024, we have no hope for 2025. And you said there's a seed of hope in you, Renetta, a seed of faith and encouragement. Yeah, is there anyone who got a seed of healing in 2024? I got such a wide gaze of physical healing. I got such a wide gaze of physical healing in 2024. And if you're still uncertain that regret may be one of those things that is hindering your momentum, here, let me give you a few signs of regret. And you all could continue typing up your seeds that God planted inside of you in 2024. Yeah, a few signs of regret, that regret has a strong hold on you. You hold on to possessions that are no longer necessary. Have you been holding on to things, to people, to memories? That is a big thing. To things, to people, and to memories. Khadijah, God's healing and faith. Yeah. Come on, who else? Let's see who else got a seed of something. I'm just reading on. Regret. One sign that regret is inside of you. Hold on to possessions that are no longer necessary. Has 2024 become a year when you're holding on to people, to things that are not necessary? This is something God has dealt with me about in every season of my life. Prepare for the season and get what you need. But I think God is preparing his people to walk so much so much more circumspectly, so much more to travel lighter in this season, is that he is equipping us with the things that we need internally so that we need less externally. And I guess I'll speak a little more on that next week. But it happens to many people when they go through weight fluctuation, relationship changes, financial changes in your life. You tend to hold on to the things that you don't need anymore, the things that no longer fit, the habits that no longer facilitate, or the people who just don't make sense. People who are filled with regret, you are holding on to that relationship that just does not make sense. Sometimes we hold on to memories so much so that present miracles just go by unnoticed. I remember God saying to me, and this is just something else. I remember God saying to me, Marsha, and I heard it even more stern today, I guess. Was it today? This week. I heard it even more sternly this week. He said, you are focusing on the people who you expect to do things, and the people you, and he said there's a majority of the people who the world sees as minors that are going to rise up and and echo my voice and be givers and sowers and helpers and miracle workers. And again, God said to me, Marsha, do not focus on the people who you think will bring breakthrough, but focus on the people who you know, you have seen, whose hearts are in the right place with me. And many times we focus on those relationships that we would have expected in the past to bear fruit. And God said to me, Marsha, about 5 people are going to disappoint you, but there are about 2,500 people out there who are waiting to hear you. There are about 2,500 people out there who are willing to help you. There are about 2,500 people out there who just want to hear my voice and feel my touch. So many times regret tells us to hold on to those relationships, and we long for the past relationships so much so that we never value the people God has positioned around us. We never value the people God has positioned around us. Regret is really a selfish thing, and it causes us to focus on ourselves, me, our flaws, instead of praising God and seeing Him glorified in our lives. Hey, guess what? You made a bad investment. Great. You're not in jail. If you are, there's God will have a plan for you, but I don't think there's anyone who is. You're not in jail. You're still alive. You still have potential to live in God's earth. You're still good enough to live on God's earth. Then it means God has a plan for your life. Don't regret. Regret is regret, and here's where regret lives. And so again, this is a sign. This is one of the signs that you're living in regret. You hold on to possessions that that are no longer necessary. Regret is really living in the place of comparison. You live in the place of comparison. When we are in this place, we tend to look at who we used to be and compare ourselves with that person. Or sometimes we compare ourselves with a person that the same age who is more successful than we are. She's my age, she's 46, and she's the CEO of a company, and she has this financial certification, and this is her net worth, and she's traveled these countries, and she's written these articles that has been published. And we tend to compare ourselves with a person or same age or same financial status or whatever, but they're more successful than us. I thank God that regret no longer has a hold on my life. Regret shuts off God's voice and God's strategy for the season. And this is what the enemy wants to do now, here, now, right here I need to keep on looking at the clock, on the 6th day of the 12th month of the year 2024. The enemy wants to shut out God's voice of strategy with moving forward, and he wants you to look back. Regret looks back. Regret looks at what could have been. I said that already. And God's voice says, look up and out. Are you looking up and out, or are you looking back? You see, God is speaking to us all along, but the layers of regret keeps us from hearing him. The layers of regret keeps us from hearing him. Listen, even if you make mistakes, you know what you do? Let go and lean on God. Even if it's difficult, let go and lean on God. Even if I am judged, you know what I do? Let go, lean on God. He will give you a new strategy for every season of your life. I'm declaring over you that the hold of regret is over you, and you no longer hold on to those things, but your hands are free to receive God's now. So, that's one sign of the fact that you are full of regret. You're full of regret. You hold on to the people, to the things, to the memories, to the job, all of that of the past. Another sign that you're full of regret is that your mind has not grown with your body. And we have so many people. I see so many people they're advanced in chronology, so they're 46, 36, 26, 96, some of them, but their mind is actually the mind of a 7-year old, and their mind is the mind of a 20-year old, and they're 46 or 36. Your mind has not grown with your body. There are some folks who've lived a life of regret, and their bodies have matured, but their minds have not, and that is a scary thing. Why is it a scary thing? Because we are to live a life so that we can be a template, or we can be an example for the next generation. So if the next generation is looking at me at 46 and I have the mindset of a 20-year-old, then it means that the next generation is looking at someone who is advanced, who's, who doesn't have it all together. After your first major regret, you've camped out at the same spot in your mind trying to figure out how you could have done things better. And I've seen people, I've tried to walk people through this with counseling. After your first regret, and there are many people, after that first breakup, after that first bad investment, after that first, I'm trying to think of the things that after failing that first examination, or after hitting that vehicle, that regret, after that first fall when you fell down those stairs, after that first fall, after that regret, you tend to either totally avoid. What happens is that you just camp out at that spot and you never move forward. Yeah. You say in your mind, and you spend, and again, as I said, the vehicle wheel is just going round and round that place of regret. What happens in your mind? You try playing that thing over and over and over, and you try figuring out, how could I have done it better? How could I have done a better investment? And you keep on playing, and you live in that place of regret, and you never move forward. There are some areas where you constantly find yourself failing. Let me tell you some areas for those of you who are living in regret and your mind has not grown with your body. Let me show you some areas where you constantly find yourself failing. And please stick with me till the end. We will give you a strategy. I will give you a strategy, a plan, how to move forward. One of the areas where you constantly find yourself failing is conflict resolution. You tend to totally avoid dealing with any conflict by either masking or smothering your emotions. So if you made one bad, decision once, and you snapped once, or you were humiliated once, you tend to avoid every bit of conflict. You don't want to do it. Or there are people who are on the extreme. If you were taken advantage of, or you think you should have dealt with things differently, you jump right in and deal with the matter in a very aggressive, proud manner that seeks to intimidate rather than to resolve. Are you one of those people? You try to intimidate, you rush into a fight and say something like, no one is going to hit me, I'm going to just I'm going to get at them. I'm going to be on the offensive rather than be on the defensive. And that's it, conflict resolution. You're terrible at it. In either case, there's no meaningful dialogue or beneficial solution. There's none. Another thing that you find yourself falling into when your mind has not grown with your body is escapism. Escapism. And I mean, this is one of the messages that I live, that I preach, that I teach, and I'm repeating it again with a perspective of 2025, specifically because it's one of those things that God wants to heal us from. And escapism is defined by the tendency to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities, especially by seeking entertainment or entering in a fantasy. I know there are some people who literally in front of me sit and daydream. They dream off. They just like, yes, the person is sitting, they're looking at you, but what are they doing? They're escaping the reality. Many people have entered into such a place of deep regret that the only way they can face reality is if they numb their circumstances with a fantasy. They numb their circumstances with a fantasy. Have you seen those movies where people they dress a certain way, or they send up their credit bills, their credit card bills so high because in their mind they are this big fabulous person and they need to dress beyond their means and they need to act a certain way, and that's one of the things that people do to escape. They project an image that we are all that, and we are so much more, when in truth and in fact they really are not. Escapism, perhaps escapism can also take the form of substance abuse. You can try to escape the reality by substance abuse. you know um Perhaps you regret getting in the car that just happened to be in an accident. So you are in pain, so your pain has become chronic and you're addicted to painkillers because you can't face the reality. And trust me, it may seem something that is difficult for many to understand, but if you really sit and think about it, I know of someone who, whenever they're under stress, they reach for a snack. And it's not that they're hungry, nothing is wrong with having a snack. Please understand. Nothing is wrong with having a snack. I know someone, when they're under stress, they just need a snack. And they are Holy Ghost filled, water baptized, saved and sanctified. But when they are under stress, the minute they get bad news, or not even bad news, something that challenges them and they need to think beyond or think outside the box or encourage themselves, they ask for a snack. They ask for a snack. Escapism. So your pain has become chronic and you're addicted to painkillers because you can't face reality. Perhaps you regret going on the first date with that man or woman. There are many of us right now. Many out there right now. Let me just say us. I'm not one of those. There are many out there right now. Many listening to me. They are in a place of regret with respect to their spouse. The marriage is so horrible that you live in a constant state of fantasizing that you were in the house with someone else. You were in the house with someone else. Perhaps you regret not being able to pursue whatever course of study and get the job that you wanted. You're so disconnected from your current employment that you're constantly zoned out or disconnected. You are daydreaming, and when you should be really working, that's a sign. Escapism is a real sign of regret. Another sign of regret, again, and I'm giving you all the signs, and I'm going to give you the solution, right? I give you the signs, you make the diagnosis, and there is a solution. There is a solution. Another sign of regret is that you are stuck in the shame, fear, control cycle. You are stuck in that cycle. The regret is usually some action that we are ashamed about. We did something, we're ashamed about it. We used a bad word, or we made a bad post, or we had some outburst of behavior and we are ashamed about it. It would, of course, pain and emotional damage. The regret could be something in our family as well. Notwithstanding that there have been regrets that have caused physical damage, but as the scars heal, the emotional trauma remain. I know there are many that they were healed from some physical thing, but there's an emotional trauma that is still there every time you hear an ambulance sounding. Doesn't have to come to your home. The ambulance doesn't even have to be close by. It could even be on the TV. But there is an emotional trauma every time you hear that sound. Emotional trauma is like feeling pain, but there is no physical evidence to show the world that the source of the pain. And I want us to understand and to normalize um understanding and looking for pain, not just as a physical response. And I know the medical people will say, okay, but there is also emotional pain, and there's also emotional evidence when we live in that place of fear, shame, control, regret. We sometimes spend so much time focusing on healing the body that we forget about the soul. We forget about the soul. And I guess at some time, or maybe I may do a workshop at some time, um speaking about triggers and solutions, and signs that your soul is being healed, or signs that your soul is healed. Actually, when we experience a shame, the layers of hurt come on, and the enemy tells us that people will look at us differently. We experience some shame. There are many people in this season. You will not afford to buy what your neighbors are buying. You will not afford to buy stuff for your children. I know there are some people, they cannot afford to have the fancy meal. I know for some children will not get the PS5 or the chocolate. Some ladies and men will not get the chocolate diamonds or the nice perfumes that you wanted to get. But you know what? There's no shame there. I know for some people, um they they when we experience a shame, the layers of hurt come on, and the enemy tells us that people would look at us differently. So if you feel that you're experiencing shame to say that I did not get a gift, or shame to say I will not be able to buy you a gift, or shame to say something, understand that there's some regret here, and you need to look at it. You will not understand what I'm saying if you haven't gone through what I've been. You see, when we become fearful that people would find out our shame and a place of regret, we try to control things. When we become fearful that they will not understand that I could not afford to make the payment on my vehicle, so it was repossessed, that's why I'm traveling. They will not understand that. So we try to control things. When we try to control people's behavior, this is called manipulation. We try to control people's perception of us. It's called pride. So control has a very large span. When we try to control, and I'm speaking about the shame, fear, control behavior. When we try to control people's behavior, when we try to control people's behavior, it's called manipulation. When we try to control people's perception of us, it's called pride. We portray ourselves as higher than anyone else. We are always the one to give advice, but we never need it. I am not pointing fingers, but I am looking at myself. We're always the one to give advice. And I'm not saying that you need to ask everyone for advice or take advice from everyone, but we always want to give advice, but we never need advice. We are always the one in charge of every activity because we don't know how to submit and support. That's a person who's living in a shame, fear, control cycle, and it's one of the signs of regret. We are always the one in charge of every activity because we don't know how to submit and support. And we also take the opportunity to be in charge because our perception is that no one can stifle us if we are on the top. No one can stifle me if I'm in control. No one can manipulate me. No one can control me. Regret breeds and fuels the shame, fear, cycle control. The shame, fear, control cycle. Regret breeds and fuels the shame, fear, control cycle. And the last sign that I have here that you may be living in a place of regret is lists and timelines. lists and timelines. Many people who live in a place where they are so maimed that they do not leave any opportunity to make a mistake in the future. Let me repeat that. Many people who live in a place where they are so much damaged that they do not leave any opportunity to make a mistake in the future. It's okay to make a mistake in the future. You know, for for me, my life personally, I had a list, I had a timeline that I would, have a certain academic accomplishment at a certain age, and then I would be living in a certain country at a certain age. I would have a certain financial status so that I could, of course, preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. And understand, the lists and timelines are not necessarily those who have not come into covenant with Christ, not necessarily only those who do not know. They are those of us who know Christ. They are those of us who are walking in a relationship, but we've also set up our very own lists and timelines. Our church should be at this number of members because we are this year's or this age. Our financial status should be so. And nothing is wrong with having ambition, but there's a thin line between ambition and altering God's plan. There's a thin line, and as I spoke about it in my reel today, there's a difference between putting together the pieces of your life, because understand something, the pieces are what make up a puzzle, and a puzzle falls apart again. Puzzle pieces fall apart. The process is what leads you to the promise. The promise never falls apart. The promise is established in eternity. So stop trying to make those lists and timelines. I want to get married at this age. I want to have a baby at this age. I need to have a house at this age. I need to stop making those lists and timelines that God did not tell you. Stop trying to put the little pieces together. My MBA at 25 and my first business that's listed on the stock market at 35. Stop putting those puzzle pieces together and submit to God's process. And just maybe, and I know it for a fact, but I'm saying just maybe, the things that you have fathomed will be exceeded because God's plans are greater than the things that you have imagined for yourself. You see, regret says that I am going to do it right because I've wasted enough time. And how many of you feel like that? I'm going to do it right this time. I've wasted enough time. We're going to a new year, 2025. I'm going to save $100 every week. And at the end of the year, I'll have a certain amount of money and I'm going to buy whatever and I'm going to do whatever. That's what regret says. I'm going to do it right because I've wasted enough time. Well, let me tell you something. God's time is always perfect. Yeah. So you may have identified with being in that place of regret and you wonder, how do I move forward? How do I move forward? Philippians 3:12 said, not that I have already attained or I'm already perfected, but I press on that I may lay hold of that for which Christ has also laid hold of me. Brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but for one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind in 2024 and reaching forward to those things which are ahead in 2025 and beyond, I press forward to the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. The Apostle Paul was speaking to the church at Philippi and trying to encourage them in their walk. With God. And here's how we move forward. Please take these points. Take down these points. First thing you do is you don't deny. And right now, very quickly, I'm saying, okay, Marsha, this is a gap in your perception. This is a gap in your thinking. This is a gap in your personality. This is a gap in your emotional response. I'm not denying those things. I'm just looking at them and I'm dealing with them. Don't deny, but deal. Denial robs us of the opportunity and identity. Denial robs us of opportunity and identity. And I'm linking my words to 2025. I've been linking it since maybe 2025. I think I think the studio team will say maybe 20, since September of 2024 or before, maybe September, I started linking. I started switching over from my birthday. I started switching to the next year from September. Denial robs us of opportunity and identity. Opportunity is something that will be in abundance in 2025. Our opportunity to be loved and identification with greatness. Paul did not deny that he was the persecutor of the Christians. We did not deny. Um, he did not deny that he had flaws. He did not deny that he had issues. He did not deny that the Christian life is sometimes challenging. I'm telling you, don't deny that you're in a place of regret. Second thing you do, dislodge. This means to knock or force out of position. And as I told you, literally, I would listen to my husband's counsel. And, I think in flowcharts and thought boxes, right? So I'm thinking, okay, this is his information. I accept it or I reject it. Okay, this is the information. Is it truth or is it lie? It's truth. Okay, where do I go? Do I go emotional or do I go logic? And this is a process I literally have in my brain. You need to make the process in your brain of dislodging a simple, a seamless, effortless one. This means to knock or force out of position. Dislodge from the mindset of being a victim. Dislodge. Hey, the first thing I think, oh my gosh, if I did not walk in that place where there was all that dust, I would not have had breathing. Dislodge. Dislodge. Dislodge from the mindset that because I have gray hair, they look at me as I don't know, whatever, and they would not favor me. Dislodge. It's wrong. It's not right. Dislodge from the daydreaming and escapism. I have found myself timing. I have a Fitbit. Everybody, most people know that, right? Most days I wear it. And I actually time myself sometimes if I'm looking at a reel, or I look at the time, how long is this reel or this video, whatever, and is this going to add value to my life? And if this thing is not going to add value to my brain, my mental capacity, I just take it off or I just fast forward it. I dislodge from daydreaming and escapism. Dislodge. Dislodging is something that is done with energy and force. It must be done with energy and force. The third thing, forgive and forget. Many of us need to forgive ourselves for the self-hate that we have inflicted over the years. We need to forgive ourselves for the self-hate that we have inflicted over the years. A young lady told me, she said, no, not a young lady, an older woman told me recently, she said, I'm only now accepting the fact that I have straight hair. For all my life, I wanted to have curly hair. And I resented the fact that I had straight hair and I tried to get curly hair. And she said, I'm only now accepting the fact that this is how my hair was created. And I'm now trying to love it. And I said, well, it's better now than, later in life. But sometimes we beat up on ourselves, we beat up on our bodies, we beat up on decisions, we beat up on emotions, and so much so that we do not know how to receive love and healing. We do not know how to receive love and healing. I remember a season of my life when I could not eat most fruits and vegetables, and I'd done so much damage to my stomach's lining that the only thing that I could digest was that the good things could not digest in my body. And not only did I do harm to myself physically by overworking and not eating, I also harmed myself by hating myself for my volatile emotions. This is when I was a really, really young Christian. So I doubled up on the acid in my stomach. After I forgave myself, I needed to give the memory to Jesus. And some of us need to give that memory to Jesus. You need to give those memories to Jesus. Some people say they forgive, but they never forget. That's really a waste of time. That is a big waste of time. I forgive, but I never forget. It doesn't work like that. Forgive and forget. Forgive and forget. That's really a waste of time. It only makes you a target to self-inflict the hurt with a memory. Do you know you can self-inflict? You can re-wound yourself with a memory. You can hurt yourself again with a memory of that pain. So if I remember the acidity, and I remember the pepticals, and I can hurt myself just from that memory, I can hurt myself again. It only makes you a target. Forgive and forget. God will never drop you. Even when the Apostle Paul made a decision to leave the things that were behind him, God did not drop him. People persecuted him. God did not. The other thing that you do is press. You press. So you don't deny, you dislodge, you forgive and you forget. You press. Press speaks of a decisive action, and everything I've spoken to you about are very decisive actions for the next 25 days. I don't think I'm wrong. I think it's 25 we have again. For the next 25 days, you press. Paul did not walk or gently stroke or make up here and there and stop to get some offense or to whatever. He said to press. Press. Listen to me. Someone needs to type in the comments, press. Press. Energy must be expended if you are moving from this place to that. If you are moving from this place to that place of destiny, there must be something spent to get moving. Press. I press. And the last point I have here is don't stop till you get there. Paul did not just press. He knew his destination. It was up. He knew who set the course for him. It was his God. Many want to get out of their situation but have nowhere to go. Unless the Lord reveals your identity, your destiny will not make sense. Listen, God is saying to you this evening that there's an assignment that He has ordained for you in 2025. 2025 will be a year, as I've said before, many opportunities. There'll be accelerated opportunities and open doors. Lost time will be made up and overtaken. Old things will be returned and new things deposited. The spirit of regret wants to keep you in a place of lockdown. Do you want to be locked down? Are you ready to be healed? Are you ready to be delivered? And are you ready to press forward and take new territory? I hope you got something from this message this evening. And I hope you join me on my next video next week and the week after. So until my next video, until my next broadcast, this is Apostle Marsha Pedro saying, live your life with passion. Live your life in pursuit of Him.